They looked like the perfect family. 18 smiling children. A cozy house on the edge of town. A couple loved by everyone, known for their miracle heart of adopting kids no one else would. But behind the family photos, behind those warm smiles and matching Sunday clothes, was a truth so disturbing, so well hidden. Even the children didn't know what they truly were. None of the 18 kids had birth certificates. Not one had a known past. And when I tried to ask questions, everyone either went silent or disappeared. I thought I was chasing a heartwarming story. Instead, I uncovered a secret so dark, it was never meant to be found. You'll never look at adoption the same way again. For months, I had passed by their house without giving it a second thought. It was just another quiet home in a quiet neighborhood. White picket fence, a line of little shoes by the porch, and laughter echoing from the backyard. To most people, it was heartwarming. To me, something always felt off. The couple, Daniel and Marissa, were known across town. Local heroes. The kind of people who made the front page for acts of kindness and inspiring generosity. They had adopted 18 children over the years. Every one of them rescued from dire situations, they said. No families. No paperwork. No questions. That alone should have been a red flag. But no one dared ask. Because who questions kindness? It wasn't until I met Elena, one of the oldest kids, that the cracks started to show. She told me, in a whisper, "We don't talk about where we came from. Not even to each other." Her words haunted me. And that night, I made a decision. I would find out the truth. What I didn't know then was that I'd uncover something far more horrifying than fake papers or adoption fraud. Because hidden inside that picture-perfect home was a truth that didn't want to be found. Candle Part 1, the couple's backstory. Who are Daniel and Marissa? Daniel and Marissa Whitlock arrived in town almost overnight. No one knew exactly where they came from. There were whispers. Some said they used to live in the Midwest, others said Canada. But they never confirmed anything themselves. They bought a quiet 3-bedroom farmhouse on the edge of town, paid in full, and within months, the children started arriving. One at a time at first. Then in twos. Then whole sibling groups, clutching one another's hands, silent, eyes wide. The townspeople were amazed. Such compassion, the church pastor said. Truly chosen by God, an old woman whispered after Sunday service. Marissa always smiled politely but never shared too much. Daniel was warm, charming, but evasive. When asked where the children came from, they'd say things like, "Oh, they were in a bad place, but they're safe now. We don't believe in labels. The past is painful. We only look forward." Birth records? They didn't have any. We're just giving them a chance. At first, no one questioned it. In fact, people offered them help, groceries, donations, toys. Some even gave clothes or bunk beds to support their ever-growing family. But no one ever saw social workers. There were no school buses, no doctor's visits. The children didn't even seem to go outside much. And when they did, they were strangely quiet. Polite. Obedient. Too obedient. They called Daniel Papa and Marissa Mama. But the words felt rehearsed, like lines memorized in a play. No child ever cried for their real mother. No one ever slipped and called out a different name. It was as if these children had never existed before the Whitlocks. Like they had been, born inside that house. A local teacher once tried to enroll one of the boys, Eli, in school. But the couple declined. "We homeschool," Marissa smiled. "He's very sensitive. He doesn't do well around crowds." Later that night, the teacher found a note slipped into her mailbox. No name. Just one sentence written in shaky pencil. He's not allowed to speak. The next day, the boy was never seen again. There was a pattern. A dark rhythm that no one wanted to dance to. The children would arrive. Blend into the family. Stay silent. And sometimes, vanish. And every time someone tried to dig deeper, Daniel would host a community dinner. Sweet smiles. Warm casseroles. Laughter around the table. It worked every time. People stopped asking questions. Because kindness, when packaged just right, becomes the perfect disguise. But I kept watching. And I started noticing things that others missed. Like how the mailbox had no number. How the children flinched at certain sounds, like keys rattling. How one girl named Rena once told me in passing, "I don't dream anymore. Mama says dreaming is dangerous." I wrote everything down. Every odd encounter. Every whispered warning. And the deeper I dug, the darker it got. Man Detective Part 2, the first red flag, something wasn't right with Micah. It started with one boy. Micah thought he was maybe 10, but had the eyes of someone much older, like he had seen things no child should ever see. He rarely spoke, but when he did, his words were deliberate, slow, like he was testing the air before trusting it. One afternoon, I saw him sitting alone near the edge of the woods behind the Whitlock's house. He was carving something into a piece of bark with a jagged spoon. Curious, I approached and crouched beside him. "What are you making?" I asked gently. He didn't look up. Instead, he whispered, almost too softly to hear, "I'm leaving notes. In case one of us forgets who we are." I didn't know how to respond. I thought maybe he meant it like a game. But then he handed me a piece of folded paper he had kept hidden inside his shoe. It read, "Micah. Third child. Taken from black car. Can't remember real name. Try to remember. Try to escape." My hands trembled. That same night, I drove past the Whitlock's house again. Something caught my eye. One of the second-floor windows had a dim, flickering red light. It was moving, like it was being swung back and forth. A lantern? No. It was a red bulb hanging from the ceiling, swaying. And just for a moment, I saw a shadow behind the curtain. Not of a child, but someone much taller. Standing perfectly still, watching the road. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I returned to the spot where Micah had been sitting. The bark was still there. But now, a symbol had been etched deep into the wood, a perfect spiral surrounded by small XS. Almost ritualistic. And Micah? Gone. I knocked on the Whitlock's door that afternoon, pretending to bring leftover food. Marissa answered, smiling. "Is Micah around?" I asked. She paused for a split second. Just long enough for something to crack in her porcelain calm. Then, too smoothly, she said, "Oh, Micah's with his biological aunt. She came to visit and offered to take him for a few weeks. A beautiful reunion, really. Such a blessing." But something in her eyes said otherwise. Like she was daring me to believe her. And then Daniel appeared behind her in the doorway. He didn't say a word. He just looked at me with the kind of smile you only see in portraits. Too perfect. Too practiced. Empty. That night, I got a call from a blocked number. I didn't answer. But they left a voicemail. Just breathing at first. And then, in a child's voice. I didn't go with an aunt. "Please, don't let them erase me." My chest tightened. I replayed it 5 times. Every time, my heart beat faster. That wasn't a cry for help. That was a last attempt to be remembered. And that's when I realized. This wasn't just a strange family. This was something bigger. Darker. Coordinated. Something was happening to these kids. Something that needed to stay hidden. And the town was helping keep it that way. Whether by fear or silence. Magnifying glass tilted right. Part 3, the investigation begins. No records, no names, no past. After Micah vanished, I couldn't stop thinking about that note. Try to remember. Try to escape. Something inside me snapped. This wasn't just a story anymore. This was a cover-up, one that went deeper than anyone in town was willing to admit. So I started investigating the only way I knew how, quietly. File folder. Step 1, official records. I went to the municipal office. The Whitlocks had lived in town for nearly 5 years. 18 children should have meant 18 files, school records, medical reports, adoption papers. But when I asked for their family registration, nothing. No school enrollments. No immunization logs. No adoption certificates. Not even a building permit for the massive extension they had added to their home. The town clerk, an older woman with trembling hands, leaned in close and whispered, "Don't dig into them. It's better if you let it be." I asked why. She simply replied, "Because the last person who asked, lost their son." Camera. Step 2, surveillance. I began driving past the Whitlocks' property at odd hours. Midnight. 3 a.m. Just to see what was happening when the lights were off. I saw silhouettes moving behind the windows, children, mostly. But sometimes. Something taller. Slower. Once, I saw Daniel in the backyard digging. Not gardening. Digging. Another night, I caught the faint sound of humming. Multiple voices, chanting something in unison. I couldn't make out the words, but they repeated the same phrase, rhythmically. Over and over. Like a ritual. And once, I saw headlights. A black van pulled into their driveway. No plates. 3 men in suits walked inside. They left an hour later, without speaking a word. Puzzle piece. Step 3, former residents. Desperate, I tracked down a couple who had sold the Whitlocks their house. They now lived 2 towns over. I called and pretended to be a journalist doing a human interest story. The woman hesitated, then said, "We moved out because of what we found in the basement." I asked what she meant. She paused. Then said, "There were markings. Symbols. The walls had names written in a language we couldn't understand. And there was this room. With a metal chair bolted to the floor." The call ended abruptly. I tried calling back, but the number had been disconnected. Detective. Final clue, the burned box. On a foggy morning, I took a chance and returned to the woods behind the house, where Micah had carved his messages. I noticed something strange. A small mound of dirt had been disturbed recently. I started digging with my bare hands. Only a few inches down, I found a half-burned wooden box. Inside was a collection of scorched photographs, children in identical pajamas standing in front of a plain concrete wall. No smiles. No names. No furniture. Behind them, in every photo, was the same symbol carved into the wall. A spiral. The same one Micah had etched into the bark. Also inside the box was a folded list. Crinkled. Stained. Torn. 18 names. Half of them crossed out in red ink. Micah's was one of them. That night, someone tried to break into my apartment. The lock was scratched. My notes were gone. And taped to my bathroom mirror was a Polaroid of me, standing in the woods, holding the burned box, taken from a distance. Written on the back in childlike scrawl, "You're next to forget." Warning. Part 4, the disturbing discovery, the locked room. I should have stopped. After the Polaroid, after the break-in. Every instinct screamed at me to leave town, burn the notes, forget the children. But Micah's voice haunted me. Don't let them erase me. And if I left now, who else would disappear next? So I made a decision. I was going to get inside that house. Old Key the plan. The Whitlocks hosted community dinners twice a year. It was their performance, smiles, casseroles, perfect children lined up like trophies. I RSVP'd for the next one. Not to eat, but to slip away. While everyone was chatting in the candlelit dining room, I asked to use the bathroom upstairs. That's when I made my move. I crept down the hallway. Every door was closed, except one. It led to a room that didn't match the rest of the home. Bare cement floor. Unpainted walls. A single folding chair in the middle, facing a wall with the spiral etched into the concrete. No toys. No books. No warmth. But there were cameras. Dozens of them. Small ones, wired into the corners of the room like eyes. On a nearby shelf, I found a notebook. Inside were disturbing entries. Child 7 resisted. Subject 9 shows no memory of original name. Reinforcement through repetition successful. Mama and Papa phrases accepted. This wasn't homeschooling. This was conditioning. Brain the truth unfolds. These children hadn't been rescued. They'd been erased. Stripped of identity, memory, history. One entry was dated the week Micah disappeared. Subject 3 became unstable. Initiated phase 2. Removal complete. Burial pending. Burial that I felt sick. I stumbled back, accidentally knocking over a jar filled with hair ribbons, numbered tags attached to each. Each one had a name, then a red X. I took photos with my phone. Trembling hands. Blurred images. But enough proof. And then I heard it. A soft hum. Coming from inside the closet. I turned the knob. And found a girl. Tiny. Barely 6. Curled up under a blanket. Eyes wide open. Silent. She didn't scream. Didn't move. She simply whispered. Are you the new watcher? I wanted to take her with me. I reached out slowly and said. No. I'm here to help. But her face changed. Her smile twisted, almost too wide. And she whispered something I'll never forget. Then you'll never leave. Before I could move. Footsteps thundered down the hallway. I slammed the closet door shut and ducked behind it, breath frozen. The door creaked open. Daniel entered. He stood there for a moment, as if sensing the air had shifted. Then he spoke aloud. The Watcher is back. Prepare phase 3. He walked out. I waited until the house was quiet. Then ran. Didn't stop until I got to my car. Didn't breathe until I crossed county lines. Stop sign, but the damage was done. The next morning, I checked my phone. Every photo I had taken. Gone. Files wiped. Photos erased. Not even in the trash folder. My call history was blank. My browser reset. My apartment's door was ajar when I returned. But nothing was taken. Except my journal. And on my bed, in perfect handwriting. We remember everything. Even when you don't. That week, 2 children from the local town went missing. No alerts. No news coverage. Just gone. And 3 days later, a new family photo appeared on the Whitlocks' online blog. Same smiling parents. Now with 20 children. Skull Part 5, The Hidden Truth Revealed, Why the Records Never Existed. The Whitlocks were not foster parents. Not missionaries. Not saviors. They were erasure specialists, contracted to do one thing: make people disappear without a trace. And they were very, very good at it. Satellite antenna, a pattern hidden in plain sight. After escaping the house, I went deeper. No more small-town records. I searched through national databases. Missing children. Adoption scandals. Underground forums. And I found something. Over the last 12 years, 47 children had gone missing from counties surrounding the Whitlock's location. But none of them were in the Amber Alert system. None matched official police records. Why? Because each one came from off-grid communities, refugee shelters, undocumented homes, back-alley clinics. Children without paper trails. Kids who could vanish, and no one would ask why. And every time a child disappeared, someone named M. Whitlock filed a land purchase. Vacant properties. Cabins. Old schoolhouses. I found 19 such properties. All registered under fake shell LLCs. All now vacant. I drove to 3 of them. Each one had the same symbol carved into a wall. The spiral. DNA, the memory protocol. The notebook I briefly saw in their hidden room. It wasn't just a journal. It was a method. Something they called reframing. The process. Isolation, remove all names, triggers, and memories. Repetition, drill replacement names, identities, and loyalty through song, reward, and fear. Recording, monitor responses. Erase those who resist. Presentation, publicly reintroduce the child as saved. Every child was rewritten. Names, birthdays, family, fears, systematically deleted. And then they were posed for the blog, dressed neatly, told to smile. New names. New birth dates. Perfect little bios, written by Marissa. It was social media manipulation. The town believed it. Donors from around the world believed it. All they ever saw were happy photos. No one saw the spiral rooms. The phases. The children who were removed. The forgotten ones. There's no nice way to say this. Micah was buried behind the property. I found the burial site. Not marked with a name. Just a single spiral drawn into a wooden plank. There were at least 5 more mounds like it. Fresh earth. Same shape. I called the police. Anonymously. 2 days later, the entire area was cleared and the case was labeled inconclusive. No arrests. No news. No follow-up. The Whitlock's house. Sold. Their blog. Gone. Their family photos. Scrubbed from the internet within hours. Person standing the most chilling part. Weeks passed. I tried to move on. Forget. Until one night. I saw a child at the corner store. Alone. Barefoot. Just standing by the canned goods aisle. She looked familiar, dark eyes, shaved head, blank expression. She looked at me and whispered. Subject 14. Reframed. Active. Before I could respond, she walked out. No one else seemed to notice her. That's when I realized. Some of them were still active. Still out there. Still under the Whitlock's programming. Firecracker, why no records ever existed. Because the system wasn't broken. It was designed this way. The Whitlocks were part of a much larger network. A network that specialized in clean disappearances. No papers. No trails. No alarms. Just children. Removed, rewritten, recycled. Donors believed they were helping orphans. Towns believed they were watching saints. But what they were seeing was a lie crafted for the age of social media. The children weren't saved. They were erased and repurposed. And no one, not the government, not the neighbors, not even the church, was willing to see the truth. Because the lie was prettier. Broom Part 6, Aftermath and Resolution, What Happened to the Whitlocks and the Kids. The Whitlocks vanished. No arrest. No trial. No news. They dissolved like ghosts, leaving behind only the scent of lies and the soft echo of children's footsteps. Their house stood empty for weeks, then mysteriously caught fire one night. No cause determined. No investigation opened. The townspeople shrugged it off as faulty wiring. But I knew better. It was a cleanup. A purge, luggage the children left behind. Of the 20 children last seen in their care, only 8 were ever rehomed. Sent to distant relatives, or quietly adopted through emergency placement. The others? Lost in the system. Names mismatched. Birthdays altered. Some shipped across state lines before any documentation could be verified. I tried to track them. One girl, Lena, was moved to a foster center in Arizona. She didn't remember her original name. When asked about the Whitlocks, she said only one thing. Mama told us to forget. And when we forgot, we were safe. Another child was adopted by a new family. 6 months later, he went missing. No one searched for him. Because officially, he never existed. Hourglass not done. What about the Whitlocks? Some say Daniel and Marissa changed their names and moved to Europe. Others believe they're still in the US. Running the same scheme under a different blog name. Posing once again as a miracle couple, saving children from the system. There are sightings. Rumors. Hints in the dark. But nothing concrete. Because people like them don't leave fingerprints. They leave obedience. And those who try to expose them, they leave reminders. Last month, I received a package. No return address. Inside, a spiral carved into wood. A photo of me, sleeping. And a note. We remember you. Do you remember us? Notebook. My final journal entry. Sometimes I wonder. How many families like the Whitlocks exist? How many children are out there? Smiling in photos. While their real names rot beneath unmarked graves. This wasn't just one story. It was a window into something far bigger. Darker. Systemic. And even now, years later, I still see them in my dreams. Micah. Lena. The girl in the closet. The boy who said nothing. But whose silence said everything. This story was supposed to be about kindness. It became a tale of quiet horror. One that exists in plain sight. Behind family portraits. And smiling lies. I haven't stopped searching. Not because I think I can stop them. But because someone needs to remember. Because the Whitlocks may erase names. But as long as one person remembers, the children aren't truly gone. Brain Part 7, Final Reflection and CTA. What if this was just one house? What if this wasn't the only house? What if, right now, in another quiet town, there's another perfect couple, smiling, cooking, taking in lost children? Another blog full of bright photos. Another town that calls them heroes. Another closet that should never be opened. The Whitlocks may be gone. But the system that let them operate? Still here. Still silent. Still smiling. And the children? They're out there. Some trying to remember who they once were. Others so deep in reframing, they no longer know they were ever anyone else. So if you see a child who seems too quiet, if you meet a family that feels too perfect, look closer. Because sometimes, evil doesn't wear a mask. Sometimes, it wears a Sunday dress and calls itself Mama. Clapperboard final words to the audience. If this story made you feel something, if you believe these children deserve to be remembered, then don't let this be the last time you think about them. Backhand index pointing right. Subscribe for more true stories that uncover what others try to hide. And if you've ever seen anything like this, tell your story. Because silence is how they win. Let's make sure they're never forgotten again.